Damn, it's good to be back. All right, so the last couple weeks I've had to take off. Computer's been in the shop, so I figured I'd use that opportunity to catch up on a little Cerakote work. Also, I've kind of been waiting for some parts to come in for the budget AR pistol build. If you missed that series, it's cool. I'm going to go ahead and leave a couple links down below for those videos, as well as a link to my website. Over there, I'll go ahead and list the parts that we're going to talk about today, because YouTube doesn't like it when we list gun parts on YouTube. Imagine that. Alright, so we started this build with a budget of $700, and I wanted to spend every penny. By the time the gun was built, there was a leftover $50 on the table, so what we're going to do today is spend that $50. As far as the PSA build kit goes, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It runs flawlessly, haven't had any issues with it, which is surprising considering the price. Part of the reason why those PSA kits are as cheap as they are is that they're basic as hell. So when you look at the hand guards, you look at the barrels, the bolt carrier groups, all that stuff is actually pretty good. And then you move over to things like the safety selector, charging handle, all of the accessories, so to speak. Those are about as basic as it gets. The PSA build kit comes with a mil-spec charging handle. It's nothing special, it's nothing to write home about. Again, it's super basic. I wanted to go ahead and upgrade it into something ambidextrous, something that had just a little bit more surface area to grab a hold of. One of the more popular ones on the market is the Radian Raptor. And while I do love those, I don't like the price. I can't justify spending $85 on a charging handle, especially when we're doing a budget build. So my parts came in, and what I've got here is an ambidextrous charging handle that I went ahead and ordered through Mentium. As far as form, as far as function goes, there's not a lot of difference between this charging handle and the Radian Raptor, other than the price. Like I said before, the Raptor comes in at about $85, depending on where you're looking. And this little gem was just under $20. So yeah, that appeals to my cheap side, of course. The surface area on this is really similar to what the Raptor is. Size, shape, the actual texture and grip. I don't want to call it a knockoff, but if we were to call it a knockoff, I'd say it's a pretty damn good knockoff of the Raptor at a fraction of the price. One thing that I can say about this charging handle over the Raptor is the spring action is actually a lot smoother than what the Raptor is. I had Radian Raptor here in the office over the weekend, and I was kind of playing with both of them, and honestly, I actually prefer this cheap one over the Raptor, not just because of cost, but you know, the way that the springs function and feel. This seems to be a lot smoother than what the Radian is. Now the contact surface on the very top, where you're going to get a lot of friction, is nice and smooth, which is great because it doesn't give that grinding on sand feeling when you're pulling the charging handle. A lot of the cheaper mil-spec ones, when you go ahead and rack it, it feels like there's a handful of sand or gravel in your gun, and generally that's because the surface isn't really all that smooth, but this is actually incredibly smooth considering the price that this thing is. Anyways, there's not a lot that I can really say about a charging handle. Let's face it, it's a charging handle. It's not a, it's not a major component of the firearm. I will say, aesthetically speaking, this looks a hell of a lot better than any mil-spec charging handle ever does on an AR, and it functions smoothly. So for 20 bucks, I think that that's a worthwhile upgrade to the AR pistol build. All right, so we spent 20 bucks on the charging handle. We've got $30 left on the table. Again, I went back to Mentium and ordered more parts. I've had a few people ask me about backup sights. I am running the SIG Romeo 5 on the AR pistol build. It runs really well. I've never had any problems with them, so for the most part, because it's just a simple range gun, I don't necessarily need backup sights, but I figured, what the hell, let's just go ahead and do it. So backup sight options. There's a lot of options out there. Could have went ahead and got some Magpul flip up sights that sit up top. I could have got 45-degree sights that flip up. I don't really like the flip up sights. I feel like a lot of them have too much movement when they're flipped up, depending on what you're using them on. Personally, I would just prefer fixed sights. I feel like they're a little bit more robust. They're going to last longer. If I drop my gun, I don't necessarily have to worry about breakage or losing zero, so that's a big thing. So 45-degree backup sights for the AR pistol. I almost broke the bank at a whole whopping $24 for these bad boys. Now I had 30 bucks left to play with, so I got a couple dollars extra. Maybe I'll stop and get a coffee. Who knows? Now you might think to yourself, what are you getting for $24? That sounds like some cheap pieces of crap. But I gotta be honest, out of all the things that I've purchased through Mentium over the last couple of years, these sights are probably the most well-built and durable looking sights that I've come across. I don't have a ton of time behind these things, and you know, it's not like I don't know, used this thing as a baseball bat or, you know, dropped it on the cement or anything, but they are really solid built. The metal that they're made out of is thick. It seems really strong. There's no wobble to them. They hold on there nice and tight. I've got adjustments for windage and elevation. The rear sight, the rear peep sight, can be flipped over from the small aperture to the large one. I prefer the large one, but you know, overall I'm actually really impressed with what Mentium is offering for literally less than $30 on these 45-degree sights. Honestly, as far as value goes, I don't really think that you can beat it if you want fixed style 45-degree backup sights to complement your red dot system. So like I said, this is not the first time that I've ordered parts through Mentium. Put a bunch of parts from them on other builds that I've done. You know, everything that I've gotten through those guys seems really top-notch. The quality seems great. I've never had any issues with the products themselves. Mentium's customer service is pretty good. I ordered an adjustable gas block last year, I think it was. When I ordered it, I don't know why the Postal Service sent it east when it should have went west, but nonetheless, it got lost. Mentium ended up shipping out a replacement, and oddly enough, within 3 days of the replacement showing up at my house, my original order got there. Looked like it had been stuck in the corner of a mail truck for 6 months, just beat up and kicked around. It really looked bad. Anyways, I went ahead, shipped that back to Mentium, told them thank you for the replacement, and everything was all good. But what really counts is the way that those guys went ahead and responded to the email that I sent saying, hey, you know, we'll go ahead, we'll package up another one, we'll ship it out. If you get the first one, you mind sending it back to us? We are a small business. No problem. Me being the stand-up guy that I am, instead of just keeping the extra gas block, I went ahead and shipped it back to them. Whatever. All right, so that's it. You know, we spent the entire $700 that we put to the side for this build. We came in under budget and overbuilt for what we spent. Now, the big question is going to be, what color am I going to Cerakote this thing? I mean, I don't really have a lot of guns in my safe that don't have some custom color on them. So if anybody wants to throw out any suggestions, probably going to strip this thing down and get it in my spray booth. Hopefully before 4th of July. I already have a flag gun, so don't make that suggestion. You know, 2 or 3 of those is enough, and I've already hit my quota.